Welcome everyone to Cinema Regulars, the movie review show where we see so many movies in theaters that the employees know us by name and they don't ask us what movies we're seeing, they ask us how many. Now, first of all, as you may notice, I actually have a real microphone now. So we're all
Yeah.
thankful for that. Secondly, before we get into what we're seeing today, uh, we I don't want to say we lied, but the list of what we're covering today is not going to be as complete as what we said it was going to be last time. Because due to scheduling errors and seats filling up, we didn't actually get around to watching Poor Things and Iron Claw, which hopefully next podcast we'll have found a way to squeeze those in. But as for today, we are looking at Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom. My
hmm
brother Merrick will be joining us for our review of the new Illumination Animation movie, Migration. And then Merrick, as well as his girlfriend Taylor, will be joining us for our review of Wonka. So, quite a few special guests this time around, but not as many movies.
hmm
But I actually think that we have quite a bit to talk about on each movie. So, let's get
Yes.
rolling right into Aquaman 2: The Lost Kingdom.
Absolutely. Uh,
You want to take
right
this
after.
one?
Yeah, sure. So Aquaman
Okay.
2: The Lost Kingdom is the it is, unfortunately, to preface everything, it is the final movie in Zack Snyder's DC cinematic universe. From here on out, they will be letting James Gunn take care of everything. But as a brief summary of this movie, uh kind of continues from where the last movie left off. Aquaman is now king of Atlantis, and he has a family now. He has, he married Mira, and he has a son, and everything is going decently well for him until Black Manta shows up and decides to well, he's trying to get his revenge. So he found a powerful artifact known as the Black Trident,
Hmm.
and he is using the power that gives him to try and destroy Aquaman and
And
free
the world.
this and the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And and free the evil undead king that the trident belongs to. Right.
yes, yes. But anyway,
That's a good
wh-
synopsis.
yeah. Thank you. Uh,
Oh,
so
and he also breaks his brother out of prison to help him stop Black Manta.
right, I forgot about that important detail that they kind of
I
didn't
forgot
wasn't
about
really
that
important.
hinge of the movie.
Yeah. But anyway, uh in my opinion, this was a I don't want to say it was the best, but this was a better send off for the DCEU.
I would say that I would prefer the DCEU ending on this than ending on the Flash.
Yes, yes, that's better. Yeah, like it wasn't great. It wouldn't have been great ending on the Flash.
Yeah, I mean,
Even though I did greatly enjoy the Flash was not a good movie.
okay, let's be serious. We enjoyed the Flash because of the Batman and the Supergirl parts, and because Nicolas Cage Superman made a quick cameo.
True. Yeah, I did not care for Ezra Miller. I'm excited to see who they're
Or
gonna get to be the Flash in James Gunn's universe. I'm actually really excited on that. I'm
they
hoping
might just be scared to touch him.
either that or maybe they'll go the easy route and maybe they'll
Let me
just hire
guess.
Grant Gustin.
Let me Grant Gustin. There we go
I
again.
I would hope for Grant Gustin. He's a great Flash.
Everybody
But anyway,
strap in for another hour of Isaac talking about Grant Gustin.
as if I do that regularly.
You do. Anyways,
Anyways, moving
we're
on to the
not
movie.
talking about the Flash. We're talking about Aquaman too.
Fair, 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 fair.
Um.
But
So
with oh, go ahead.
okay. So I think, not to be a negative Nancy here, let's start talking about the positive things about this movie.
Yeah.
Um, as with the first movie, the first Aquaman that I did really like, I
Mhm.
believe that this movie had super excellent trident fights.
Oh
Like the
yeah.
choreography of the fight scenes and action was very good. I don't think it was as good as the first movie, but it was still very good.
It
Um,
wasn't there weren't as many trident fights in this one, but the when they
no,
were
there weren't,
around,
but
it was still fantastic.
yeah. Um, Black Manta, well, obviously being the best Aquaman villain because he's, aside from Orm, he's the only Aquaman villain. um, I just think Black Manta is a super cool and super intimidating villain just in his own right. So I was glad to see him A, have his like proper silver helmet this time around, and B, be the main villain,
Yeah.
debatably.
Yeah.
Um and then again, as in the first Aquaman movie, I think that the creature design is always really good. Like all the underwater creatures, in this one they ride like these like multi-legged little lizard things. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think all the creatures that they come up with for these movies are really cool looking.
Yeah,
And they
one thing
don't
I
look
really like
terrible.
yeah, one thing I really like is the Brine King, the guy
Yeah, the
who's
big
like
crab guy.
yeah, like I love that. I love that like that design for him where he's like just this big like hunched over crab.
I like that his like helmet is like attached to the rest of his carapace, and it just kind of just like flicks down over his head.
Yeah, that was a really cool detail. I like I like the part where there's like where they said he made a joke where it's like keep your eyes open and he's like it's easy for me, mine don't close.
Yeah.
He's good.
Anything else about it that you liked?
Um I like that uh Mira got shot with a giant laser. Sorry, Amber Heard got shot with a
she got
giant laser.
she got fried.
Yeah, that was good.
I
The
bet
so
you hate that she lived though.
yeah, I did. But she is a good segue into talking about the negative parts about this movie.
Oh, wait,
First
hang on.
off,
I actually have one more thing I liked about it.
oh, sorry, go
So
ahead.
as yeah, from like a writing perspective, I really like the disconnect between uh the ocean world and the land
Oh
world.
yeah,
Because like multiple times Aquaman would bring up like cheeseburgers or something like that, and then his brother, who's been underwater his whole life, he's like, I have no idea what that is.
yeah,
Because like it's super easy to slip up and have them like talk about things. It's like you're underwater your whole life. How do you know what that is?
yeah,
But they pay close attention to that, and they're just like, yeah, I don't know what that means. Like in the first movie, they're like Mara was like, "What the hell is Pinocchio? I have never heard of that." And then someone gives her a book, and it's like, "It's a kid's book. That's where you got that from?"
yeah,
Yeah, but I appreciate like the attention to the disconnect of what people living underwater their entire existence would and would not know about.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
anyway,
okay.
moving on
Now
to
we
the
can now we can talk
let me
about the shitty parts.
yeah. So first of all, talking about the segue, Amber Heard even being in the movie was just a big eyesore, but because of all the problems with her and also problems with the original screening of the movie, this movie was subject to a lot of reshoots, and it
Mm.
became through very apparently in the movie. The movie feels a little rushed, as there are parts where things like just feel like they're glossed over, like scenes that you can tell originally were a little bit longer, and plus for a movie about Aquaman's family, like
Mm.
Mira's not in it like at all, but that's mainly because of all the problems with Amber Heard. So they had to cut her out of out of as much of the movie as they possibly could.
Which
So like,
now, understandably, why they had such pushbacks, because the plot is about his family and
yeah.
that, so like you can tell why they had a lot of pushbacks about keeping her in the movie.
Yeah, but with the fact then them finding out that they weren't gonna move forward with this universe at all, anyways, like
Yeah.
it's at a point where it would be way too much money to justify reshooting all of her parts rather than just bringing back the actors they've already hired to reshoot a couple extra scenes without her in it,
Right.
and then just
And
cutting
like,
those out of the movie.
yeah, and like you said, like that a lot of scenes felt rushed. Um,
Hmm.
I completely agree, because there are several scenes that I can just pull off the top of my head, that really just needed a few, like a minute or two, or like even a few extra seconds, just to let the scene breathe a little bit,
Yeah.
because something will happen and it's like super like big and devastating, and then they'll just like keep going immediately into the next scene.
Yeah,
And I'm
and there
like,
was
you
also a
need
thing. Go ahead.
time to process.
You do the and there are other things about this where I'm like you know what? Like you brought this up after the
Yeah.
movie that moving into spoiler territory a bit. Uh
Okay. Official
the
warning.
yeah, official spoiler warning here, throw it up. Uh More people should have died in this movie. Like meaningful people should
Yeah.
have died in this movie.
Yeah,
Like there
because
are
the
yeah.
the reason I brought that up at the end of the movie, because it happens like 3 times when someone is like mortally wounded, like someone gets like stabbed with a trident or a blade or something, or gets laser blasted to the face, or literally is standing like feet away from an explosion, and like the fire, like they literally show on camera the fire like consuming their face, and then immediately they're just like, he's gonna be fine. And I'm like, what do you mean he's gonna be fine?
Yeah. Like, and a lot
Like,
of the times, I feel like for like half of them, a lot they're banking heavily on the whole Atlantis has superior technology thing for like, oh yeah, they're fine. Atlantis fixed them up.
okay, I don't know. Well, half the people that should have died were on Black Manta's side.
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
agree with that. But what
complete
I'm saying,
complete list. Okay, here's a complete list, because we're in spoiler territory. Complete list of
yeah,
people who absolutely should have died: Mara,
yeah,
Aquaman's dad,
hmm,
um, the Asian doctor, played by Jim from The Office, and then uh, what was her name? Stingray, like the lady who was like the general of
yeah,
Black
yeah,
Manta's army, who was literally caught in an explosion, and then the giant machine just collapsed on top of her
yeah,
with her inside it. Yeah, she should have died in that. But like, if
yeah.
people were dying, it would feel like the stakes were real,
Hmm.
because it doesn't feel like there's any threatening danger if everyone's just like, hey, he's gonna be okay.
Yeah. And even the stake of the world getting to a point where like getting past the tipping point on climate change where it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and like sea levels are going to start rising and shit like that. Like it did not feel like at all like the world was actually at stake at any point during this movie.
Not really. I mean, they had a volcano with green clouds coming out of it, but like, and I mean, they were talking on the news. Everything is bad. And I'm like, okay, can you show how the bad things are happening? Because like, there's other movies where like they had like B-roll footage of like people in like trudging through water where it should have been like parks and
Yeah.
like houses flooded and like all these other things happening, but they're just like things are very bad here on the news, and I'm like, okay, like they didn't like show how bad things were getting, really.
No, they didn't. They
Like
just
what
kind of
there was one scene where Aquaman's dad was sipping a Guinness and watching the news, and the news was like things are bad in the world, and he just goes, "Man, what's going on with the world?" And I'm like, I don't know. I
yeah,
couldn't
like it
tell
was
you.
just weird.
You're not telling me.
And also, like the kid, like they for a movie about Aquaman's family, his son was surprisingly in the movie very little. Like, I mean, I
I
get
mean, I don't know how much a baby could really do, but
fair, but I will say another positive that I really liked, like Jason Momoa's acting towards this kid that's supposed to be his son, was really good. Like it was really cute. I really liked it. Like
yeah,
the relationship he had
yeah,
with his son.
I'll agree with that.
Like the part
I'll
where he
agree with
like
that.
where he like finds out that like his kid can also talk to fish, like he can, because that's not a thing that normal Atlanteans can do. Like
Right.
he's the only one that can do that. So he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to share this gift with. I've wanted my whole life to share this gift with someone. I can't wait to introduce you to all the amazing creatures and stuff like that." And I'm like, "That's fucking cute. I love that a lot."
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Um,
I got nothing really else to say about the. Well, actually, there
well,
was one other
okay. Do you wanna
problem. Yep,
what's up?
with the black.
Well, here, let me speak because I think it's the same problem because this
Yeah,
is um. Let's talk about simultaneously the strongest point and the weakest point in this movie, and that is
yeah,
Black Manta.
yes, it
So
is
as
like. Go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
This is you're
Okay,
you're
yeah, this
actually
is
more
my piece.
upset about this than I am.
I am, I am. So as I said, I actually really like Black Manta, and for the sole purpose because that he just actually is a murderous, psychopathic villain with no empathy or compassion. He is
Yeah.
out for himself and himself alone, and his goal is to kill Aquaman. That's all he wants to do with his life. And in the comics, in because in the comics, he comes after his son a lot. Like
Mhm.
in some instances, he actually does succeed in killing Aquaman's baby son. Um, which he attempts to do in this movie. And had this movie been rated R, or even even if they did kill off the characters, like it realistically, like some characters actually did die, I almost would have believed in that moment when he was holding the knife up above Aquaman's son. I would have, like, I knew they wouldn't have done that, but like I would have felt like it was a possibility, you know.
Mhm.
Like, is he's actually gonna do it? But no, I knew he wasn't gonna do it because no one had died at all during this movie when they absolutely should have. Um, but yeah, the point is, the problem with the portrayal of Black Manta is that I believe he should have been far more violent and like
Oh
bloodthirsty,
yeah.
especially when given like all this power. But he kind of just he kind of just did like trident combat, which was cool, but like that's not really his style. He fights dirty. He's a pirate.
Yeah.
Um, and on top of that, the glaring problem is that he wasn't even technically the big villain this time, even though
Hmm.
that's what it was billed as. Was like he was just a lackey in the first one, but now he's back as the main big bad.
Yeah.
Um, but
Like he
no, it's
found this
it's
thing that
the
gave him power, and now he's gonna use that power to destroy Aquaman.
right. That's what I thought it was going to be. But the thing is, the undead king that owns the trident is like possessing him through it. So on certain levels, you don't know what is actually Black Manta and what he wants, what is the influence of the trident on his brain, and what is just entirely just the king full on possessing him. Like it's very
Yeah.
muddied water of what is actually him and what is the trident's persuasion here. And that kind of combats the writing of his character as like this vicious, hateful, vengeful guy. And that's kind of the whole point of Black Manta is that he takes things too far.
Yeah, like even like you said, that scene where he's holding the knife over his son, like you do 100% believe that he is planning on murdering this child. Like he is
Right.
going to
But you
kill
don't
this child, but you don't know if that's actually him or the king.
yeah, you don't know if that's the king's influence, you don't know if that's him just taking over entirely because the king can just like completely control the body and speak in first person. But like you don't know where Black Manta ends and where the king starts, and that's the problem, is because Black Manta's supposed to be the kind of guy who would just do that shit on his own. Um
Yeah. But
uh like I said, it could have been just completely better if the trident didn't possess him. Like if like he picks up the trident and it gives him the flash of like what to do to awaken the guy. Like if the guy literally was just the king, if he was just frozen, locked away in the ice and like not communicating or possessing with him at all, but like he just knew like that's what the plan was, and the trident just gave him power, but he was still mentally himself and the same the whole way through.
yeah.
I feel like that would have played out way better, because freeing the king would still be in his interest to destroy Aquaman and completely level his entire kingdom. So that would
Yeah.
still be something he would want to do even without the possession and the king like coercing him into doing that.
Yeah, and like actually I don't even have anything extra to say about it. It's just it just would have been 100% better. That's the only thing I can say about it. It just would have been better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right. Moving on to our rankings.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a very mid 6, which is about a single step up from a mid movie. I was fairly entertained the first time around, but the more I sat with it, I'm just like, yeah, it wasn't as great as I thought it should be. Because like I
Yeah.
mean, there were very obvious points where if I was seeing this, like if they did it like a trial run on me and asked me, what do you think? I would have said more people should die. Some scenes should need time to breathe and let the emotions set in, and Black Manta should be more violent, right? So there's very like obvious from the get-go things to make it better, but
Yeah.
I mean, I still liked certain aspects of the movie and quite a bit of the movie. So I mean, not the worst thing to come out of DC this year.
No, it is not. But it is not the best.
No.
But anyway, for my ranking,
You were gonna
I
breeze right past your ranking, weren't you?
A little bit, yeah. Uh, I think that I am going to also give this movie a 6. Like, I'm not. It's not.
Okay.
It's not insanely great, but I did enjoy myself. I always love seeing Jason Momoa act. Like he really he's a lot of fun, and the visuals in this movie were great. And also, I do have to say another thing I really liked was uh another again one of the things that would have benefited from it breathing a bit, the relationship growing between Aquaman and Orm, like
Yeah.
the scene where he tricks him into eating a cockroach because he's like because like you said you talk about the cheeseburger thing where he's like, you've never had a cheeseburger, you've never tried land food, and he just grabs a cockroach and he hands it to him. He's like, oh yeah, this is a delicacy up here, and he eats it and then he likes it and he just doesn't say anything. He just
Yeah.
lets him
I mean,
believe
yeah,
that
that
cockroaches are a thing they eat.
to be fair, that joke could have been like way worse because he could have tricked him into eating a cockroach and he was like, blah, that's gross. And he's like, haha, you ate a bug. But the fact that he just like eats it and he's like, hey, not bad, and then he just continues on, that's kind of funny. But
Yeah.
it's also really sad that the very last scene of the DCEU is Orm eating a cockroach
Yeah, it's
on a
him
burger
grabbing a
in the
cockroach,
mid
putting
credit
it on a
scene,
burger and eating it.
and he's like, hey, not bad. That's the last scene we'll ever get of the DCEU.
Well, the Snyderverse.
Well, yeah, I think it's just the DCU for
Yeah.
James Gunn's.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
But yeah.
All right.
Um
Enough of this.
yeah, let's
Let's
call
get
Mo in.
Merrick in here, and let's hop into migration. All right. Welcome, Merrick. Your first official appearance on the podcast. How do you feel?
Pretty good.
All right.
Welcome, Mo.
So, welcome Merrick, aka Mo.
Yeah.
So, Merrick, you joined us for the new Illumination Animation movie, Migration.
Correct.
Yeah, correct. So, to preface this, we did not originally have high hopes for this movie, considering the fact that the first trailer for it, half of the runtime of the trailer was other movies.
Yeah, it was like
they gave you,
nothing.
like, it was actually nothing. It was like a brief rundown of every other Illumination animation movie that came out in the past.
Mm.
And then they had just had ducks flying, and I was like, this looks like nothing. This is nothing. And then by the time the real trailer came out, we had quite a bit of it taken up by Aquafina, which, just to preface, we are not the biggest fans of her.
No, we are not.
Nope.
Not huge Aquafina stans on the Cinema Regulars channel. So again, that just brought it even lower on our expectations. But Marcus Theaters, which, as you know, which, just so you know, Merrick is actually an employee of. Merrick works at Marcus Theaters. How about that? So we got a man on the inside.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets me all the posters for all the movies I like. But Marcus Theaters did a promotion for Migration where they did a little scavenger hunt and they hid rubber ducks all throughout the lobby. And if you found one, you got a free limited edition soda cup and a free poster for the movie. And you got to keep the duck. And for reference, I'll even throw up a little picture of it right here. It's the baby girl duck, Gwen from the movie. It's just a cute little thing. So that in itself turned us around, and we're just like, you know what? Let's go see it. Why not? We'll go do
Let's
that.
check it out.
We'll check it out. And then, and that's actually the linchpin on why we actually did go from no interest at all, this is probably going to be bad, to hey, why not? Let's go check it out. To I'm actually pretty excited for this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm proud to say that this movie was actually pretty good, fairly entertaining, and just kind of super cute all the way around.
Yeah, this movie is like the cutest freaking thing that I've seen all year, and we watched My Neighbor Totoro and Ponyo earlier this year. Like,
You're putting Migration up over those?
this movie made me feel the same that I felt leaving those theaters.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Okay.
I fucking loved this movie. This movie was so freaking cute.
Merrick, you don't have to wait for us to like invite you to the convo. You can just jump in with your comments whenever you want, just so you know.
Right. To be completely honest, I forgot, and I thought I was just listening to an episode of the podcast.
It's so good.
No, you're here. It's real.
I
It's
am here. I
real.
am here.
You're a part
Look,
of the
you're the
podcast.
ticket. You're the
I am the
ticket.
ticket. I am the ticket. I'm right there, ticket.
Yeah. So what are your first thoughts about the movie before we get into more details, Merrick?
Like you said before, the first trailer wasn't much, and then you brought home the duck. That was pretty cool. And then one of the reasons I was like, okay, I'll probably see the movie at least for this. There's a little short thing before the movie where it's
Oh
Vector and
yeah.
Minion on the moon.
Yeah.
Your spark of interest came from the Moon trailer where you get to see more Vector.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Right. Right.
So
Like
what did you Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
if for nothing else, like even if the movie was bad, I would have gone in to see at least the Vector thing.
You would have got your free ticket, went to go see the Vector part, and then left.
Yeah. Yeah, I get free tickets anyways, so
It's
Yeah.
true. It's something we've
You
taken
do.
advantage of multiple times.
yeah.
That day, even.
Yeah.
So the movie itself, what did you think?
The movie itself, it was funnier than I thought it was gonna be because of
Yeah.
like kids movies these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
considering who's actually in the movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's a
But
lot of people that I myself don't really consider funny anymore or at all. But I was surprised of how like actually a lot of the jokes landed.
yeah.
Alright. Um
Um, for me, yeah, I thought there was a lot in this movie that was done very well. Like the
mhm.
fact, well, one of the things that I liked, I especially liked, was that in the trailer, like it seemed like a lot of the movie would take place in that city setting, and I'm really happy that it wasn't. Like that was maybe like a 20-minute bit in the movie.
You're just happy that we got rid of Aquafina and she wasn't there the whole runtime.
Yes, you're not wrong. Like that was
Yeah.
cool, but
Yep.
you know what? I was explaining the movie to a coworker of mine, and a sentence stumbled out of my mouth, and I'm gonna stick by it. This movie is like a PG vacation movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Like you know
It is,
what I
because they
mean by
keep
the
stopping. Yeah, like
yeah.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they keep
Yeah.
stopping at different locations with different problems on their way there, and then. Yeah, I agree. There's. It does kind of have like that kind of like storyline setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, did we
There's
completely
problems along
blow
the way. It
past
keeps
the
stopping it.
synopsis of this movie?
We did, yes. So, if we want to run through it real quick,
Like, go for it.
I can do something with that. So the brief synopsis of this movie is it's basically a family of ducks that live in a pond, and the dad is really cowardly and protective and doesn't want to leave because it's safe here. He knows it here. Everything else is dangerous outside, predators everywhere. But the mom and the kids want to take a migration vacation down to Jamaica, and after a brief change of mind, the dad gets in on it, and then they all take off, but they go in the wrong way. They get lost. They have all these problems along the way, and eventually they get into trouble with a chef who wants to cook them, or just eventually he just wants to kill them out of spite. But he's the main bad guy. And then they eventually get to Jamaica, which they wanted to. So yeah, it's nothing too complex. It's a pretty much yeah, it's pretty much just like a vacation movie. That everyone
Yeah.
takes a trip and there's problems along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the chef villain, first of all, his branding goes hard. The black
Oh,
and the
it goes
gold tiger.
so hard.
And then on his helicopter, the fangs light up and the eyes.
Yeah.
And him twirling the butcher's knife like in his fingers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that goes hard too.
I mean, he dresses like a hipster, but all his branding goes really hard. And I
Yeah.
actually like that he didn't that none of the human characters aside from a singer in the restaurant who is singing a song, none of the human characters have any lines. So it definitely feels like the ducks are as a species the main focus
Yeah.
here.
Like the birds are the species, are like
Yeah.
the focus of the movie.
Yeah, it's about birds. And so none of the humans are kind of just
Background
I don't
characters.
know. Yeah. Yeah, and they just pissed off one background character in particular.
Right.
Yeah. Uh the family dynamic of all the different characters is so genuine. And I love that you got the mom and the dad. They're very they actually feel like just normal parents.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Uncle Dan, played by Danny DeVito, which is a plus in the column.
Dude, every single line out of Uncle Dan's mouth was a banger.
It was so good. I loved Uncle Dan, but
I'll
he's the
tell you this. It is very rare when I remember all the names of all the characters in a kids movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like it
Like that is
actually
very hard to do.
like that's actually fair because I remember all of them as well. Like you say that and I'm like, yeah, I remember all the names of all the characters. Wow.
Like even all the side characters as well.
Yeah, freaking Delroy, my man. Like even though Keegan Michael Key is in everything, like I still like him.
At least
Like
at least he can like do something semi different every time. So like his
yeah.
toad voice and his Jamaican parrot voice sound completely different.
Yeah, and also he actually is funny,
Yeah.
unlike Aquafina.
Unlike some unlike some people.
Unlike Waterboard Wendy.
Waterboard Wendy. No, it's just like I say, if you're gonna put Aquafina in a movie, at least give us the benefit of watching her get hit by a bus a couple times.
Fair. Fair.
True.
Yep. I think this movie was good enough to forgive Aquafina's brief appearance in it.
It was. Like I keep thinking
It,
about it and even though she was in it, it wasn't terrible. I will say this, the characters that they made her for, like at least this is the one instance that I've seen it where her voice fit that character.
Yeah. I can kind of give that.
Yeah.
Like it worked for that character. Um, anyone else have anything else? I don't have anything negative to say about this movie besides Aquafina being in it. Like literally nothing.
Yeah. I think I think there were some jokes that were like super kid jokes, like and like kind of cringe, but I mean it's a kids movie, so
I
but
I
a lot of the
liked it.
jokes, but a lot of the jokes were actually really good. There were only a few that didn't really land.
I love the
Mhm.
part. I love the part in the beginning of the movie where Dax is talking to the girl duck, and then like they come back to the parents, and like she's like, Gwen's like, Dax talked to a girl and he said he wants to marry her. And he's like, no, I didn't. And she's like, you said
I
it
didn't
with your
say that.
eyes.
Yeah, I really liked the kids, especially when they were interacting with each other. I thought that like every moment that those two had with each other was like super like cute and wholesome. I thought those characters were probably the strongest in the film.
Oh, yeah. Like the part where they're
At least to
trying.
me.
I like the part, another part in the beginning of the movie where Gwen is trying to convince Uncle Dan to come with them on this vacation. And it's just the please. It's like, it's like, that's exactly what a
Okay,
child would do.
the first time around it was fine, but at the end of the movie where they had everybody doing that, even the dad, that's one of the cringe jokes I was talking about.
Yeah, fair. But like every single time that like they portrayed emotions with these ducks insanely well. Like
Yeah.
every single time that that Gwen was sad, I was like, "No. That's so
Yeah.
sad."
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. The
But
little
no,
dog.
overall, I think that this was an excellent movie. Illumination taking another W for the year.
Yeah, 2 in a row. Who knew? What
3.
do you mean?
Well, they had Puss in... Oh no, that's DreamWorks with Puss in Boots. Yeah, my bad. Never
DreamWorks
mind.
dumbass.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, like they had Mario and this like Illumination. They kind of beat us to death with Minions for a couple years, but like
Then they made the Grinch.
yeah, and then they made the Grinch.
But
But
I think they're kind of bad. My game theory is that they when after Nintendo put a gun to Illumination's head to make sure that Mario wasn't bad, I think after they left they had one guy hired one guy to just sit in the corner of the Illumination Studios just to make sure that they didn't go back to garbage after the fact and ruin their branding. So there's just one like Japanese guy like sitting in a chair in the corner with like a pad and paper and pen, just like making sure that the next thing they put out isn't terrible that makes them look bad.
Yeah. But yeah. No.
Merrick,
Moving
anything else? Anything else you want to say before we head to our rankings?
I mean, not really. It is a good kids movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd even go as far as saying it's a good family movie.
Yeah, I would take like this would be something like if I was a kid or if I had kids, I would take like the whole family could go see it and it would all be fun. Like I even
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
back home and said and told my mom that she would like that movie, that it would be enjoyable. But yeah, if that's it, we can move on to the rankings now.
Yep.
Merrick, as the guest, we'll let you go first. I don't know if you're familiar with our ranking system, but a 5 out of 10 would be like a mid baseline of a movie, like just like this movie exists, nothing good, nothing bad about it, but there it is. That would be a 5. 1 would be completely unwatchable, and 10 would be, buy it on 4K and watch it several times in a year.
All right. I think I'm gonna give this movie 7.
That's fair.
Nice. I was actually also gonna give this a 7, like a pretty decently high 7. This is a super entertaining, super cute movie, and aside from Aquafina and a few jokes that didn't land, there's really nothing that bad about it.
No. I'm actually going to go so far as to I'm gonna give this movie an 8. Like not a high
Really?
8, but I loved this movie. This movie was really good. It far exceeded my expectations for a kids movie, and I just loved it. I loved it a lot. It was I it's one of the first times in a while that I've left the theater feeling like super really good. Like I was just like,
Yeah.
this is I
Yeah.
feel good.
Like when this comes out on DVD, I'm definitely not gonna pay full price for it. But if like a year from now, if it ends up in the $5 Walmart bin, yeah, absolutely, I'd grab it then. But yeah, I thought it was a super good movie all around, which is surprising considering how little hope we had for this in the beginning. So this
yeah, we
was a
had
pleasant surprise from Illumination.
this movie grew on us incredibly quickly.
And it's all because of the little rubber ducks. So, Marcus,
Yeah.
if you're listening,
More
keep
scavenger
doing
hunts,
scavenger
please.
hunts, keep doing more promotions and stuff like that. Engage with the customer base more. Because the more
Yeah, no-
things like we have to take from the movie, I think the better time we're gonna have and the more interest we're gonna have in seeing it.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun.
All right, Merrick, if you'd care to stick around, we're gonna bring your girlfriend Taylor in for our review of Wonka. All right, welcome Taylor to the Cinema Regulars podcast. How does it feel?
It feels incredible. I'm so honored. Thank you guys.
And you're the pretzel.
Yeah.
Finally, the pretzel.
Yeah, we're honored to have
Pretzel.
you on the podcast.
Yeah, it's good.
Thank
It's
you.
good to have. It's good to have guests every once in a while. So
Yeah,
that
it
it's
really
not
is.
just
Well, I am
me
happy
alone
to
with
be
this
here.
thing. Nice, good, thank you. So you and Merrick both joined us for Wonka, the new Willy Wonka prequel movie. So let's get into that a little bit. Just for a brief synopsis of the plot, as I said, this is a prequel to, I'm guessing, the Gene Wilder version of Willy Wonka. And basically it's Willy Wonka showing up and trying to start his own chocolate store, and he gets tricked into, like, contract enslavement, working off a bunch of money that he promised, and sneaking out and selling chocolate to raise money and all that. As far as prequels go, I ordinarily would like the prequel to line up with the movie that's sequential with it. And this is
I agree.
one of the movies that does not really do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Like, it tried to, like, it had the thing where it was like very lazily at the end.
Yeah, kind of.
But like it, like I said, very lazily. Emphasis on the very and lazily.
I agree. Well, I remember in the Gene Wilder one, and also I know that it doesn't have like a connection much to the Johnny Depp, except it's in the same like universe, but wasn't Willy Wonka always kind of like a recluse? Like no one would see him for years, or something would happen and he would like go away. And maybe this is just a prequel to all of like what had happened between this one and the Gene Wilder one,
Well,
but I'm
you have
kind
to
of missing.
you have to remember that gave a reasoning for that. Well, at least they gave a reasoning for that in Johnny Depp's version. I don't remember if they did it in the first one.
Right,
But
right.
the
But this is
reasoning
a prequel to the Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Well, because you have to remember the reason he was a recluse and the reason he started using Oompa Loompas was because when he originally had his shop, uh, he had he used to interact with people, and then people tried to start stealing his recipes. So he became more reclusive and more secretive with his like people, like the people that were working for him were trying to steal his recipes for his chocolate and his candies and sell that on like the black market kind of thing or whatever, to to kind of and so he became a recluse and he became really secretive because of that, and he started working with the Oompa Loompas.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I think I was just missing the
That might have just
whole
been a
like.
Johnny Depp thing, but I can't remember
I
if
I
there
just
was a
felt like he
reasoning for
didn't
it.
seem like a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think just the character shift with how Timothy Chalamet portrayed Willy Wonka and how everyone else did it. The main difference is that you're not meant to feel safe around Willy Wonka. Like he's very like like Gene Wilder was scary. Okay.
Yeah, he was.
I'm just gonna come out and say that. Because the boat scene. Like there were literally parts of the movie where he was just literally just fucking with the kids and the parents just because it was funny or something. And there was like you actually thought he was just gonna sit there and let all these kids die, and maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this one's too like sweet and bubbly, and
I think that's what
I
I
don't
was
know.
trying to get at earlier is like he doesn't seem like the type that would be a recluse because he just seems so lovable in a way that other Willy Wonkas didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been thinking on this movie because like we've had time to think on it. And there have been a couple things that I've like mulled over in my head. And like I think well, I think what they were trying to start to do cuz like you aren't supposed to trust Willy Wonka in those movies. I think what they were trying to start was like well, all of this man's imagination and like thinking had to come from somewhere. You know, like I
His
think they were
brain.
well, no, what I mean is I think they were trying to give him that like I think they
I
were
think they were trying
trying
to
to give him
squeeze money out of your pocket.
true. I think they were trying I'm not saying they succeeded in this, but they were trying to make it more whimsical for
Well,
like
yeah.
them
This was
starting out.
definitely. Yeah, this was definitely like super kid friendly, and like they didn't want to like in all instances of him being wacky and zany and crazy were all like the lol I'm so weird and quirky, and like it was forced and like not because
It
like
was
Yeah.
hard to watch.
Gene Wilder, he was like actually like crazy and you felt unsafe around him sometimes, and like I mean, he showed like he took them into a dark tunnel, started singing creepy songs, and then flashed up pictures of chickens being beheaded and centipedes crawling across
You know,
people's faces,
if
And a
they
tarantula,
wouldn't
which scarred me for life.
and a
yeah.
big tarantula. Yeah, and then this one
Yeah.
is like, hee hee, ha ha. I'm making
You know,
the
if they
silly
hadn't
chocolate.
build it as a Wonka prequel, like if they hadn't built this as an origin story for him and just
Yeah.
build it as a new Wonka story like they did with Johnny Depp,
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie wouldn't be nearly as bad as I think it is.
Well,
I
no,
do
Like
agree with that.
let's not. I kind of agree, but only slightly because I don't think like it being a prequel to the Gene Wilder one is the main problem with it. I think has plenty of flaws in its own right as a standalone thing.
that is fair.
I just think the fact that it was marketed and was told it was a prequel really did alter the way I viewed the film.
I see that.
Exactly. Like if I would have seen this as this is just a new Wonka story, a new thing there, I would have viewed it very differently. And I would have at least like the phrase that you like to hear me say is they accomplished what they set out to do. And like they accomplished in the goal of what they were making. Like it worked with what they were making. But
Did it
because they were
though?
making it but because they were making this a prequel, it didn't work. Like because you when you set that precedent, you're writing yourself into a box of okay, this has to connect to this, and it didn't, and they didn't do that.
Right. I'm just saying that even if that part was off the table and it was just its own standalone
Oh, it does still have
new Wonka,
flaws.
it's still flawed in its own right.
Well, I'm not
Um,
saying that the movie would have been great, ooh, amazing. I'm just saying that it I would have been able to forgive some more stuff in the movie if that were the case.
And Merrick, just a reminder that you are still not listening to a podcast. You are part of it. So
Yeah.
Yet
do you
again,
have any
for the second time this
Bef-
podcast.
before we move on to the more details about the movie in itself in particular, Merrick, do you have any comments you'd like to make when comparing it to the original?
Yeah. I don't know. It feels weird when they call him Willy Wonka because he's like nothing like the Gene Wilder, or
Yeah.
even though it's supposedly a prequel.
It doesn't feel like the same person.
Right.
Yeah. So
I get
anyway, do you want to move on to the more specific things about the movie?
Sure. Shall we let the guests go first?
Yeah, because we both know that there's gonna be a point where me and Taylor are going to branch off for a sec.
Oh God.
I
So,
was
but
thinking that
all right.
too.
yeah,
Taylor,
but we'll
we'll get to that later, but Taylor,
Yeah.
just a few positives and negatives just on a very base area if you'd like to start us off. And this will officially start the spoiler warning, so anything specific about the movie you want to get into, you're welcome to.
yes, official spoiler warning.
Okay.
Throw it up.
Thank you. Yes, spoiler warning. Spoiler alert. I think maybe some positive. I really did, besides the ending thing with the whole him building his factory. I'll save that for negative. Whatever. Anyways, the sets, it felt very magical, I think.
Okay.
I think the scenes, or the scene where he opened his shop for the first time before everything went awry and the chocolates were poisoned, when he first opened it, I did get sucked into the world. I'll admit. I was, I was like, "Oh, those flowers look good. Like, I want to take a bite." It looked
Mhm.
good. And I also I thought it was cool that they did like the chocolate. I think they did the chocolate river in there. I'm like fairly certain that I
Mhm.
saw that in his shop,
Well,
which is kind of like an allusion to later what
Yeah.
happens,
I
with
think it was like a chocolate lake.
oh, okay,
I
maybe
don't
not a
think.
river,
But
but
it's still kind of along that similar lines, yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that
right.
the more I'm thinking about it, I don't think it was actually like a chocolate moat. I think it was. I think it had something else in it. Or maybe it
Oh,
was. I might
well,
be remembering wrong. They had the moat, like it was there. Like the river was there.
Okay.
yes. Yeah, well, it just reminded me
Yeah.
of the magic that I felt when Gene Wilder stepped into his chocolate
Mhm.
factory.
Mm.
So I really did like that. I liked their sets. Another positive, and we'll get to this later, but I'll admit, I'll be vulnerable here. I have listened to the soundtrack on my own time, believe it or not.
Really?
Um, yes, because I wanted to revisit it, but we'll get to that later. But I'll save my positives for then and negatives for then. But
Okay.
um, I I think a negative for me would maybe be, and I just keep thinking about this, is first of all, I don't know, I felt the like innkeepers, I know that they were like a big part of his conflict about his like debt and everything. I
Yeah.
just didn't really like their characters. I didn't feel like they had much like depth, and I know that they didn't want to give them much depth because that's not who we're supposed to focus on, but that whole like romance trope was a little I
I
don't know why it was like uncomfy.
I could not agree more. I did not really care about their aspect of the story at all, and I feel like they made their aspect of the story like very big proportionally. Like they were in
Yeah,
those two were in the movie a lot and they really didn't need to be.
Yeah,
I
they
that's
didn't at
exactly what I
all.
was feeling.
Yeah,
They
even
didn't need that.
Because to be honest, there was enough of a conflict with like the guys themselves like running him out of town and like making and like bribing the police so he can't sell his chocolate. Like that was enough of a conflict in itself. They didn't have to. I mean, what conflict did they bring other than the fact that he owes them money and everyone else owes them money?
And he now has to sneak out, basically. Like that's the only extra step.
Right, but
is that he then had
would
to
the
sneak
story
out.
change? Would the story change that much if he didn't have to sneak out?
I don't
The
think
only
so. I mean, a lot
the
of
only
time we didn't really see him. We saw him maybe sneak out twice.
I mean,
the only
the only thing really that they benefited was they introduced all the side characters that were working there. And to be honest, like I can think a lot of them were partially unnecessary, and one of them was completely if you made the movie without um the comedian guy. If he was not in the
Yes,
movie,
that's
there would be
another thing.
no difference at
yeah,
all. He's entirely irrelevant and useless. He serves
the
no purpose in the movie.
the only thing
There's-
that the only thing that those two contributed to the movie was the fact that uh was the whole them having the freaking little girl thing. That's
Yes.
Well, that's what I
literally
was
it.
gonna get to too, is and I'll make it brief so we can let Mo in on the pros and cons, but
Yeah.
I didn't find her character, and I'm sorry if y'all liked her, but I just didn't find her whole conflict with her parents really necessary. Like her conflict took away from the fact that it was a Willy Wonka movie. Like it
Mhm,
felt like a
Right.
totally separate short outside of Willy Wonka to me.
mhm.
Um
Yeah.
and I know
I
that it was like the
no,
big
go ahead.
revelation that like oh sorry. I know that the big
No, go ahead.
revelation was like, "Oh my god, Slugworth is her," and spoiler alert if we haven't said that already.
We didn't.
Slugworth is her grandfather, her father, or like her relative or
Her
whatever.
uncle.
I think it was her
Her
uncle,
uncle.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you're right.
right.
Um,
Um,
but I don't see how that made much of a difference because he was still trying to drown them in chocolate anyway. He didn't care.
Yeah, it did not matter really at all.
trying to gloop them.
I mean,
Mhm.
his problem was really like still his point in the conflict was to keep Willy Wonka from selling his chocolate and like edging in on his territory. So even without her, he would still want to get rid of Wonka, and he would still end up in the chocolate there at the
Yeah,
end.
the other thing that they did is
Which
like there's that scene where they're like, you told us that she wouldn't be a problem, and even when it's revealed that she is like an heir to the Slugworth fortune or whatever, it changed literally nothing. She just went to go live with her
yeah,
mom.
yeah, like
True.
they
I
really didn't do anything. Go on,
I
Merrick.
I so I guessed that plot twist, like, oh, she's related to Slugworth. Like as
What?
soon as they said
How?
she was an orphan,
How did you
Yeah.
guess that, Merrick? Why Slugworth
I don't,
specifically?
he's the
Go ahead, say it.
It was obvious,
Yeah,
I think.
it was
Go ahead,
obvious,
say
I
it,
think.
Mo.
Okay.
I think it was
Okay.
obvious.
Okay.
The only two black characters in the movie, but
And one of them who was never black before this movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
one of them who
Yeah.
was never a character before this movie.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's
I was gonna
kind of
say-
like. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say
No, you're
Mo
good.
can move on to his pros and cons.
Yeah, do your what's your pros and cons there, Mayor?
Yeah, I gotta think of some pros.
Wow. Well, you can start with the
I don't know,
cons
it
while
was-
you're thinking.
I can start with the con number one. He stole Gonzo's entire fit. Put the picture up now. But
Yeah, I'll put us side by side.
yeah,
It's the same picture. There's no
um,
difference.
I mean it was honestly there was parts I forgot it was Willy Wonka, but then they call him Willy. I'm like, oh wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if they had
Yeah,
changed his name,
Yeah, like if this was literally if it was anything else, like if they just made up a new character, they didn't even have to like change any aspect about him. Like they could just call him something else. And people may like, oh, it's just a ripoff of Willy Wonka, or he's like, oh, he's kind of like Wonka, but like they wouldn't see him as literally Wonka because he's just kind of not Wonka.
Honestly, in my opinion,
Right.
the only reason they used Willy Wonka was just to sell tickets.
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah, this did not feel like a Willy Wonka movie at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
And did
As-
you come up with any pros, Mo?
well,
I mean, I don't know.
okay. I can start sharing some of my thoughts if you're still thinking.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, immediately off the bat, a lot of the CGI was pretty dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
The giraffe.
The giraffe was probably one of the only things that didn't look way too bad.
I guess that's true.
but-
Good point. That's
but,
just
like,
what stuck
the
out
po-
to me. Go on.
Right, the poisoned candies, and everyone's like hair started growing. Like that looked super super bad.
hmm
A lot of like the like little like a lot of the little chocolate things, like when they were floating around, it looked like pretty cheap.
The hover chocolate.
Yeah. I kind of feel he was magic in this one.
Yeah, like he was just straight up
Yeah.
magic.
Like
It
I
wasn't
think
like he was
like
a
I know in the
genius dude.
I know in the first movie he had soda that made you fly, and then he had gum that turned you big and blue. But I think the flying chocolate was a little bit too much. Plus, he said he put worms and like bugs in it, and like
Yeah.
Yeah,
ew.
they're like chrysalis
And then
or something.
Yeah, like he said, like he outright said, like I put like bug larvae and then that hatches and then there's flies in them and then people are like, ooh, I'll have one. I'm like,
Yeah, the
first of
fact
all,
that
ew, no.
like, I mean, I will say in some instances, like that's cool, like magic chocolate. Like Like, well, that's one thing I liked in Johnny Depp's, where there's that scene where he pops the little egg in, and like he opens his mouth and there's like a little chocolate chick in his mouth.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of weird for me too. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But like, he literally in like the first time he gets to the location, like he sits down on a random bench and starts pulling like absurdly large things out of his hat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
they said he was like a magician, but like he even said as himself, like, oh, you gotta have like smoke and mirrors and setup and all that. I'm like, there's no way you had like pulling shit out of your hat set up on this random park bench. Like he had a full like pot of tea in his hat, just chilling. I'm like,
With
Are-
stuff in it.
what is going with stuff in it? I'm like, what are you doing? What is the explanation for this? Like, so right off the bat, I'm like, so is he magic? Because that doesn't make sense. That's not Willy Wonka. Or like, is he not magic? So then why does he have all this in his hat? I didn't get that. A completely arbitrary point that they invented for this movie is that Willy Wonka could not read.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't
there
really
was-
know what that added.
I did nothing, literally nothing. The girl like gave him a piece of paper with an A on it, and he had no idea what it was. And then she's like, "I'm gonna teach you to read." And then there's one like 10-second scene during a musical number they were doing, where she had a cat written up on a chalkboard, and he had no idea what it was. Like he's just like, "I am completely lost." And then the next time it's even brought up again, he's like completely literate. I'm like, where did you learn? Because last we checked, you couldn't read cat.
Yep.
Mhm.
So-
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
an arbitrary thing, probably just for jokes where, haha, he can't read.
I did not
Um,
laugh, but okay.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
fact that he can't
I'll-
read is really stupid, and also like the fact that, well, I'll say that for my stuff.
Um, I think positive wise, there was one joke. There was a single joke in the whole movie that I thought was good, and I didn't even laugh at it. Like I literally sat in my chair and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." Like I
What
said
one
that
was it?
without any emotion. That's when like after the two innkeepers throw that girl into the pigeon room or whatever, and then Willy Wonka pops up in the window to bust her out or whatever, and then it shows it cuts to outside and he's got like 5 ladders like taped together so he can reach across the canal to peek in the window.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I thought I was like, oh, that's kind of funny, but like nothing to gauge like actual humor or anything. Anything else was either just like completely flat faced or just groaning and wow, that was terrible. So I mean that was a good joke. And then I think the plan to get into the vault wasn't too bad. Specifically, I mean like the chocolate that's like 7 different kinds of alcohols all in one, and they use that to knock people out.
They didn't need the comedian for that plan, though.
They did not need the comedian
they
for
didn't.
that plan. Meaning he did not help the situation in the slightest. In any part of the movie, he was entirely useless, and the movie would be exactly the same without him.
His skill was he
Which-
could talk like he was underwater, which isn't a skill, really.
I told this to you, Merrick. His skill that he attributed to the plan was that he could talk like he was underwater. And
Yeah.
how he used that is when the Mr. Bean's character, he called the zoo, quote unquote, which was them, to come get the giraffe that was running amok, and he answered the phone. He's like, "Ah, we've got a big problem here. Quiet down, you guys." And then he went blur blur blur, quiet down, octopus. And I'm like, if I was calling a zoo, and the zookeeper stuck his head into the tank to tell the octopus to be quiet, I would be less inclined to believe that's a real zookeeper.
Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like who?
I'm
does
like,
that?
sir, are you okay?
Yeah. That dude did not need to be in the movie.
It's true, and that's just clutter. There's a lot of
Yeah.
clutter in this movie, and it just
There
makes it
is.
feel janky. Like certain aspects that were focused on too long, and certain aspects that were not fleshed out at all.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
had other comments, but I'll let Isaac take over.
Oh, go
now, 'cause
ahead
I
if you
can't
want. Go
remember
ahead if you want to
exactly.
finish.
Oh yeah. The ending where the quote unquote chocolate cartel was gonna get rid of Willy Wonka and the girl by drowning them in their chocolate supply. That's probably
Oh, yeah,
the
that pissed you
dumbest
off.
thing that did piss me off. Because, like, literally the reason they have that is, like, they're watering down the chocolate that they're selling to people and then keeping the good stuff down in a vault for themselves.
So that way they can
But
use
but they
to pay people off is what they were using
right,
it
or
for.
to just hoard it or whatever, or have their own stockpile for whatever
To drive up the
purposes,
price of chocolate.
really. I guess. I don't know how that works. They didn't really explain at all why they did that. They just had
Honestly,
chocolate.
I think the only explanation that they sort of gave is, like I said, is they were using it to pay people. It was their
Well, I'm
version
just
of
saying
money,
that's because
basically.
that's what they had, and that the cop was like a chocoholic, so they just
Well, it's not only
bribed him
that, like
with chocolate, which they liked.
in that ledger that they were trying to get, they were all stamped with paid in chocolate. Like that's how they paid off like the monk or whatever
Right, but
that
that's
was letting
because
them
they're
use.
obsessed with chocolate, though.
Yeah, fair.
I'm saying
Okay,
like
I
that's
did laugh
probably
though. I did laugh though at the police officer growing bigger and bigger every scene. I did laugh. I'll admit.
yeah. I mean, well, okay, if that wasn't in the trailer and absolutely knew that was going to happen,
Oh,
That would have been kind of
I
funny.
I don't
probably would
remember
have
that from the
laughed.
trailer. Okay.
No, that was
I
in the
didn't even
trailer. He
watch
was
the
absolutely
trailer.
super fat.
Mm.
Okay. Um,
I left it.
but
Mr.
aside,
Bean
okay,
showed up. I didn't know he was in
that's
this
true.
movie.
Aside from whatever bizarre purpose they have for a chocolate vault underground, they decide without any hesitation to contaminate it with 2 dead bodies.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally like, we're going to open the floodgates and drown you in all 3 of our collective chocolate reserves. I'm like,
They said, "Let's
okay.
Augustus gloop him."
Right, they like, I'm like, okay, aren't they gonna, like, contaminate it with, like, everything? Because this was like, what would you say, like, early 1900s?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like early 1900s London. Sanitation was not the everyman's highest
They were
priority.
still
So
using sovereigns.
yeah, they were still using sovereigns back then. So I don't think they had Dr. Squatch back then. So they were probably not the cleanest people in town to begin with. And then on top of that, they just want to throw them right into their chocolate supply. I thought that was a completely stupid idea that didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, according to this, a sovereign, or at least in the real human stuff, sovereigns were in circulation till like the 1930s
Okay, yes.
in the United Kingdom.
1930s London was not the epitome of human hygiene, but
No. But anyway,
no, put 2 dirty homeless corpses into your precious chocolate there. Brilliant scheme.
all right, was that your final gripe?
Yeah. Yeah, we Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So starting off with like negatives, I think we've actually pretty much covered all the negatives that I would have about this movie. Like,
Okay.
I don't really, at least for the movie itself.
Right.
Obviously, the one thing we haven't said yet, I'm surprised, is that Timothy Chalamet was
I'm
not a
keeping that
good.
in.
I'd go for it. Timothy Chalamet was not a good choice for this. I understand why they picked him, but because like that's just his acting style, I guess, fit for what they were trying to do. It just wasn't good. Because the kid, this is gonna bring me to my other thing. The kid can't sing. Because that's something that people were shocked about, and I understand why. They were shocked that this movie was a musical. I understand why they were shocked with a musical, because when you watch the first Willy Wonka movie, it doesn't. When you watch the other Willy Wonka movies, they don't feel like musicals. They feel like movies with music in them.
Right. Well,
Yes.
to be fair, like the Gene Wilder one, you had the Oompa Loompa songs, which is a given. And then Gene Wilder had like 2 songs or 3 songs or something, but that's just because he was like crazy and like, because literally like the "Come with Me and You'll See" song, um,
World of
Pure
Imagination.
imagination.
yeah,
Yeah.
that song, like literally, like everyone should know by now, like that scene, the actors had never been in there before. They had no idea, like they were like they were not prepared at all. They had never seen the
Mhm.
set. They didn't really know what was gonna
Mhm.
happen, and they just start singing out of nowhere, and you're just like,
Mhm.
eh,
Yeah.
and what's going on here now?
Yeah.
But when they do sing, it's just one person singing,
Yeah.
right? And then in the
Well, there is. I've got a golden
in
ticket
hang
at the
on.
beginning of the movie.
Oh, right, but they're singing together. It's not like the flash mob. Everyone in town is randomly
Yeah.
all singing the same song.
Yeah.
It's literally like, hey, we're celebrating, and I've got a golden ticket, and he's singing a
Yeah.
song. It's like one person singing a song because they're doing something, and everyone is like watching them sing. So
Mhm.
like that's something happening in reality, and not just
You
random flash
forgot
mobs like in this
Cheer
one.
Up Charlie.
Yeah, the Cheer Up Charlie, the terrible song everyone hates.
Yeah.
But then in the Johnny Depp one, all the songs are literally like Johnny Depp leans over and he's like, "Hey, watch these little creatures. They're gonna do a song. They just do that. It's kind of weird, lol." And then they do
Mhm.
that. Like that was their thing. But it felt like it was like a natural part of it. But this was like a
Mhm.
musical where just everyone would randomly be in on it singing the exact same song together for some reason.
Yes. So, we have now reached the part of the podcast where me and Taylor have a lot to say. So my thing with this is that it followed the standard nowadays, the modern formula for musicals, in the sense that there was a song literally every like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Like that's
they had the styles too. They had the flash mob song, they had
Mhm.
the ballad, the duet, which wasn't like usually you have your love ballad or your love duet,
Mhm.
but obviously she's a minor. So,
Yeah.
not a love ballad, but they had
It was
that
more an
feel.
uplifting story thing. It was more of a it was more of a again, it's more of a friend dynamic really than anything, which it's still creepy that
Right.
he's friends with a minor. Like but it's we're going to get past that. Like
But hey,
Right.
this
They
is
had their
coming from the
opener
guy.
song too.
This is coming from the guy who said, "No, we don't steal bottles of milk," and then proceeded to, in the next scene, steal the zoo's entire supply of balloons.
yeah. Like the music like wasn't top notch. Like mainly because Timothy Chalamet can't really sing.
Well,
Like, he's
here's the thing
kind of
about that. Here's the
Yeah, what did you say about that, Taylor?
I see where you're coming from. I don't think is a profession. Obviously, he's not a professionally trained singer, and
Mhm.
obviously, he's not going to be amazing. He's not
Mhm.
some Broadway star that they hired. He's no,
It doesn't sound
he's
like he's
nothing like
taken
that.
any sort of lessons at all.
I realize why, though, they chose him as I thought he wasn't terrible. He wasn't like, "I have to close my ears, they are bleeding, someone get me cotton swabs."
No,
Like,
I'm not saying he's a terrible singer. It's just he can't
they
sing.
could have chose someone who had singing background, I think. He
Mhm.
was in theater. I know Timothée Chalamet has a theater background. He sang on SNL before, I'm pretty sure, or he like rapped or something. I don't know. But
Wouldn't surprise me.
but he I think they prioritized the choice of actor because of maybe they liked his acting and his vibe, and also for fame
Mhm.
reasons over the fact that they're like, "Oh, he can hit the notes. Let's just go with it."
Yeah, like
Even though it was a musical and it was, you're right, like a song constantly, almost constantly,
mhm.
they surprisingly didn't prioritize the voice as much as I thought.
Yeah. The other one, the other one that I liked was the song when they open up the chocolate shop for the first time.
Oh, A World of Your Own.
That was actually good. I actually did like
Yeah.
that song. Like, I
Yeah,
actually
me
even like
too.
that song. I even liked that
Um,
song in the moment, actually. Go, yes, Mo?
I'm a little tired of that song just because I work there and it plays at the end of the credits and I have to clean.
Oh.
Oh, so you have to hear that song over and over and over again?
Yeah.
That sucks.
I feel like
Now,
you could that would be one to be easy to get sick of, I feel, but it
Mhm.
wasn't bad. It was just like if repetitive, I feel like yeah.
Mhm.
okay, so as
I
stated before, I'm not a musical guy, but at least to me, I didn't feel like any of them were, whether they were good or bad is, up to anyone else, but like I feel to me, none of them were really that memorable.
Well,
they
that's
weren't.
what I was
It
gonna
Like
wasn't
say
none of them
when
stood out really.
okay. Um, well, I agree with you, Kellen, and I think I said this to you guys when we walked out of the theater. It's like I don't when we first walked out, I didn't remember a single song.
Mm-mm.
I maybe
Exactly.
remembered the first one because it was the opener song. But I couldn't like if someone said, "Hey, sing a song you just heard from Wonka," I'd be like, "Uh, I
You
can't."
know what? You know what? I would sing the fucking Pure Imagination because they sang that twice like verbally, and then they had like the little music box music of it playing in like every background of every scene just to
Yeah.
constantly
Mhm.
remind you that, oh, this is a Willy Wonka movie, don't forget.
Mhm.
They used
Right.
it
Right.
so often. Alright, let me just let me just say one more thing. Why the hell was the kid not British?
No, yeah, she wasn't.
Wait,
She
good
was like the
point.
She was
only
Yes.
literally
non-British
raised
character.
from a baby by literally the most cockney British people. They were like, "Oh, what a biscuit, boom," and then she's got no accent. Explain that
Yeah.
to me. All right. And finally, without further ado, let's move on to the rankings. Taylor, as the newest of our guests, you may go first.
Mm, well, I have stuff to say about it, but I don't think that it was like super awesome. So maybe like 4-ish, 4.5. Because like I wouldn't give it more than 5, but I still have stuff to say about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
I'm gonna give this movie a 3 out of 10.
ooh,
Ooh.
alrighty.
Yeah. Cut deep.
Um,
L?
I'm gonna give this a 4. I mean, I think storyline wise, it's not too dreadfully bad. If it would definitely do a whole lot better if it was its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just too far separated from Willy Wonka in my eyes, and all the things connecting it to Willy Wonka just felt really forced and choppy.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't the worst thing I've seen this year.
No. I am also giving this movie a 4. It would be, in my opinion, it would be a 5, like you said, like you said, if this would have been its own standalone, brand new Wonka story, I would have given this a 5. It would have been totally mid, but the fact that the way they build it, it's not there. It fell short of what they were aiming at for it being a prequel. So it just I feel like I have to give it a 4. And like you said, not the worst thing we've seen this year, but it's definitely nothing I'd go out and tell people. Like literally every single time that someone has mentioned that they want to go see Wonka since we've seen it, I've involuntarily gone. I've like had that inhale through my teeth. Like I don't want to dash your hopes.
All right. So that should just about do it for Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
And for the podcast. Thank you so much, Taylor. Thank you so much, Merrick, for joining us for the podcast here.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it
Of
was
course.
great.
All right. That wraps that up. Next time, Mr. Isaac, you've been paying closer attention to next time than I have because I've been working on something that I will mention here in a moment. But until then, please inform our audience what's next on our agenda.
So next time is probably going to be more of a middle of January is when we'll probably aim for that one being out. But on that docket currently, we have Night Swim, the new I believe Night Swim is actually an M. Night Shyamalan movie, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong, but I
I think
think
you're
it
very
is.
wrong. I think you're
I'm
very
hoping I'm
wrong.
wrong. I'm really
It's a
hoping I'm wrong.
Blumhouse movie.
Blumhouse, there it is. That's what I'm thinking. But we'll have Night.
There's nothing to do with that.
So we'll have Night Swim, The Beekeeper. Um, possibly we might have the movie ISS. We haven't really locked that one in yet. But unfortunately, there isn't a lot of new stuff coming uh in January, but definitely we will
At,
have Night Swim of the Beekeeper.
at least not
Those
on our
are
radar that we're aware of. We'll
yes.
see what the schedules shake out like. And we are still looking to find a place to squeeze in Poor Things and the Iron Claw.
Yes, we will see if we can get those guys in. Hopefully we can figure that out.
Yeah. All right. And now, as a special thank you for listening this long, starting next month, starting January, Isaac and I will be looking back at the
top 10 best and the top 10 worst movies that we saw in 2023. And that goes for each of us. So Isaac gets a top 10, I get a top 10, he gets a bottom 10, I get a bottom 10. And we'll be working on those videos and uploading them throughout the month of January. So stay tuned for that. It's like our own little Oscars, isn't it, Isaac?
Yes, it is.
And also, starting January, Isaac and I will be opening up our own Letterboxd accounts. You'll be able to find me under Cinema Kellen, and you will be able to find Isaac under regular Isaac.
Yeah.
So if you really want to hear or check out our opinions or rankings on there, we'll be looking at our theater movies and possibly even just older movies that we found on DVD somewhere. So once again, a lot of new stuff coming to the Cinema Regulars channel and to us in general in the 2024 year. But until then, guys, that's a wrap. Roll credits.